My name's Jackie Roth. I am a neuroscience major with a minor in food culture in America. I'm originally from Kansas City, Kansas, and came to Austin to go to UT. So it's difficult to quantify it, and it's going to be a lot more of an impact as time goes on. But so far, definitely just changing the way I view my body in terms of physical health and trying to prepare for the ride. Um, so I don't know, just preparing to exercise more. Um, starting to like ramp up what I eat so that I can build muscle and stuff and not injure myself when we start actually training. Um, and even just with the few people who I've talked to during panhandling and the donations I've received, it's already like connecting with so many people from so many different states about this cause that so many people have a connection with. So it's cool. I am most looking forward to the ride, obviously, the scenery, going from city to city, places that I haven't been before, just the experience of biking for hours and hours through a vast landscape and like being disconnected from society. And that's really appealing to me. And then also just the camaraderie of the team. I've not really much of an athletic person. I've never really competed on a team before, and we're not competing here either. But just to take on such a huge challenge like that with so many other people is going to be really exciting. What part of the ride do you think will be most challenging? Well, I mean, like I think all of the ride is going to be most challenging. I keep listening to Biking by Frank Ocean and like Jay-Z and all of them, and the part when he's talking about how he's biking uphill and it's burning his quads, and I'm just like, all I can imagine is just like my legs being on fire and just having to push through it because that's what you do when you bike uphill. So definitely the physical challenge is going to be unlike anything else I've ever done. I think another part that will be really difficult is kind of reintegrating back into life after the ride, because we're going to be in this bubble almost with all of our teammates and doing nothing but biking and talking to people about cancer 24/7. And I think that's just going to be such an intense and like emotional and gratifying experience that it'll be really difficult to like translate the weight of that back into normal life. I think my favorite memory so far was the one team meeting we had where we kind of just talked about everything we were most scared about and like all of our vulnerabilities. Because at UT especially, but then also within Texas 4000, there's just a lot of extremely accomplished, high-achieving, qualified people. So it's really easy to compare yourselves to others, but realistically, we're all just as nervous, and this is as daunting to me as it is to everyone else. So kind of realizing that we're just all in it together, and there's not really anything to be ashamed about or scared about. Yeah, so I ride primarily because of my grandparents. My mom's mom, the entire time I knew her, she died when I was about 6. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in the 80s, and then for 10 years battled it on and off about every year and a half or 2 years until it metastasized to her brain. And so she died. And her husband is my last surviving grandparent, and I love him to death. He's just super hard ass, and he has beaten melanoma 4 times. He's had parts of his lung removed, had parts of his bladder removed, had radiation on his prostate. He lives a very rugged lifestyle and has a lot of cancer, and the only reason he stopped smoking cigarettes was because he had parts of his lung removed. But I mean, just the contrast of those two cases, and hearing my mom talk about how difficult it was to just see her mother battle this disease for so long and wither away in front of her, and in the last few months of her life she just wasn't even the same person and didn't even remember her daughter, and it just tore the family apart. And so that, compared to my grandpa, who's been so successful beating it so many times and has lived long enough to see his grandkids have children, and to see all of his grandkids graduate college, and to see people get married, and so hoping it gives me encouragement that the work we're doing will give more outcomes like my grandpa's than my grandma's. And also when I was like 8 years old, I was playing the Ouija board. I don't know if you play the Ouija board, but I was doing that with my sisters. And it told me that I was going to die of breast cancer. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So I would like for that to not happen. Yeah, and then I also have a friend, one of my best friends from high school. Her sophomore year of college, she got ovarian cancer. And that was just really out of the blue and really terrifying for her because she was pre-med and pre-law, trying to just like be like any other young adult, any other college student, and work towards their career. But she just had to put all of that on hold and just face the idea of her mortality, and had to go through chemo, and it was just really intense for her. So I just have a lot of empathy for all the people our age who have had to deal with things that are so serious that no one our age should have to think about. Bikes.